tens of times. So it's something that it just comes naturally to me to visualize it. Whereas if you've not been there, I can tell you where, Garden Grove is in relation to, Encino, but you're not going to take it in. As you can't see it if you haven't been there. So I keep on harping on it for your benefit, but it's really important. So Samaria is the final place where the capital is moved to. And then the New Testament, as you know, or may have heard, picks up on that image of the Samaritan. And it's really interesting because the New Testament knows, people who wrote the New Testament, and you say that's Jesus, I don't consider it, as I've told you, to have anything to do with Jesus. But anyway, the people who wrote that particular document know very well that the Jews don't like the Samaritans. And they mean by Jews the Southerners, because there are no Northerners left. So who are the Samaritans? By the time of the New Testament, the Samaritans have become mixed with a lot of subject populations that have been, according to the Southerners anyway, whether that's true or not, we don't know, that's their view, that have been resettled there, like officers in an army would get land someplace, like the Romans would give out land, or these others, other conquering peoples would have to pay their soldiers something. They would transport the conquered people and give the conquerors their property. So when they destroyed the North, the Southerners contend that others were moved in there, particularly Greek, and mixed in with the local population. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But the Samaritan in the New Testament then is Samaria, Samaritan. That's a symbol for all the newcomers coming into Pauline Christianity, as opposed to the so-called promises of Jesus' own people. So it's the Good Samaritan that helps him, whereas his own people spit on him and do things like that to him, supposedly. It's all very purposefully done to make it seem as if Jesus is reaching out to the newcomers and the newcomers like him. So the Samaritan is not considered really an Israelite in the New Testament as such. He's just a stranger. And that's how the Southerners would have seen it. Now, if you go to Samaritans, and there are still Samaritans, they don't see it like that. They think they really are the legitimate heirs of the Northern Kingdom. They still have a synagogue, though, with all the Palestinian issues that have occurred in the last 25 years. A lot of them have left Shechem, which is called Nablus, as I told you. For up till recently, you could go up there with them and they sacrificed the paschal lamb on the Mounts Ebal and Gerizim like Joshua, because Joshua is supposed to be their hero. And I told you they have 6 books of the Bible and they don't recognize any of the others, including the prophets. And they only recognize the 6 books, the Law of Moses and Joshua. And a lot of them have, though, because there were only about 600 of them left in recent times, have moved down to Tel Aviv and have gotten Jewish wives for their children so they could revive the situation. And there's a big center of them in the town south of Tel Aviv along the seacoast called Holon. It's south of Jaffa, and it's a seaside town. And there are more there now than in Shechem. So they're beginning to resuscitate themselves. Or maybe there's 850 left instead of 650 left. But they still exist, and if you want to talk to them, they'll tell you, no, we're the legitimate descendants. And I think the only way you can solve that one is to do some DNA testing, and be interested to see what the results would be. I think they should do DNA everywhere as a historical tool, because if people are willing to do it, it's a tremendous, it settles all kinds of issues in terms of where people came from, who they are, what the migration patterns were, and so on. So I'm always for that sort of thing. So Samaria, as you see, comes in for a lot of abuse here. And Samaria is identified with Jacob and Israel. So Jacob is not really a southern hero. He's really a northern hero, and as it becomes Israel, he's more of a northern hero. And so who are the southern heroes? Well, basically David and Abraham. I mean Jacob occasionally, but when the prophets are speaking, Jacob stands for the north. And he does here as well. Now here you see the house of Judah also sins. What is the sin of the house of Judah? Jerusalem. But, you know, it's a very lukewarm slap on the wrist. And you get the feeling the prophet really doesn't believe it. He's just trying to be even-handed. So, again, his attention is, once again, fixed on Samaria. Is it because he knows Samaria is going to be destroyed? Is this retrospective? Does he know the Assyrians are going to come in this 720s, 30s period and destroy the north and south will be saved? Possibly. Anyway, I mean to make Samaria ruined in the open country. A place for vines. So this could be retrospective. What do you think? You think this is retrospective? Written after the fact, back? Quite possible. Possible. Now, I can't conclude on that, but it's pretty close to the time anyway. If it's after the fact, he's seeing the ruins and he's saying, you see, this is what happened. I'm not sure though. I mean, it's very hard to say. I will set her stones rolling into the valley. These are really vivid images. And will lay her foundations there, and all her images, all her idols will be shattered, because there's obviously non-Yahwist activity going on strongly in the north, according to the prophets. And again, the prostitutes' earnings. For prostitutes' earnings, they have been collected, and prostitutes' earnings, they will be again. What do you have for a translation of that line 7 in your Bible? Anyone have something different?
I shall leave all their idols derelict. They were amassed out of prostitutes' earnings, and prostitutes' earnings once more they will be.
Well, I have a tradition about Jesus from the Talmud that obviously draws on this passage here, right, that I know about. It's in both of my books, but not many people speak about that. But whenever I read this, suddenly it comes home to me that this is where it comes from. A rabbi is, Jesus isn't mentioned very often in the Talmud, but in any case, a rabbi is in Galilee, and he's a rabbi with known Judeo-Christian sympathies, and he meets someone called Jacob, James, possibly James, the brother of Jesus, but someone called Jacob. They call him Tvar Sakanya, and they say, they pose to him, they talk to him about Jesus the Nazarene, they call him. They said, what do you know about Jesus the Nazarene? He said, oh, well, I know a tradition about Jesus the Nazarene. He said, oh, well, what was that? They said, what should you do with the prostitute's earnings given to the temple? What should you do with the prostitute's earnings, the wages of a prostitute given to the temple? Someone, I don't know who asked him this question, and Jesus responds, according to this tradition,